All right, the case that we have has occurred here in Clayton County is we received several reports, or we have 4 cases currently in reference to where females in Clayton County have been sexually assaulted, raped. And in the course of that investigation, beginning in July of 2015 leading up to May of 2017, we have found that there was evidence located at those scenes, and that has been linked with results that came back from the Georgia Bureau of Investigations that forensically links that all these cases are connected to the same offender. The evidence that has came in, and upon looking to the DNA evidence, does not give us a specific name, but the DNA evidence all links to the same person. So we're asking the public if they have any information or anything that can lead us to the identity of the person that's committing these offenses against females in our community to please get with us and pass on information so that we can actively pursue those leads also.
And I understand that the circumstances of each case weren't necessarily similar, so at first maybe you didn't realize these were connected, or what was how did that all play out?
That's correct. You've got several different cases. The method that the offender was using sometimes would gain entry through an open window, would pick out a victim possibly walking through an apartment complex or townhouses. So they would all vary. One was used a weapon, displayed a weapon to get the victim to be compromised. Also holding by the, brandished a gun, brandished a knife, and then just open windows, and that's the way that he made contact with them and began the assault.
And how were you able to put all the DNA evidence together that you have right now? How did that transpire? How did that all unfold?
DNA evidence came in several different ways. It would come in through the sexual assault kits that the sexual assault centers do when they're assisting the victims after they've been victimized. And also there was some evidence located that the crime scene unit located that was left on points of entry. We don't want to go in too far into detail in reference to how that particular evidence was recovered, but there's other trace evidence that was located other than sexual assault kits.
And how many cases do you think might be connected?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, how many cases might be connected through the DNA?
We have 4 direct cases of rape, and then we have 1 case where entry was made and attempted to do a sexual assault, but at some point got scared off or ran back out of the house.
And when you say attempted to do a sexual assault, did he make contact with the woman and
Made contact with the woman in her personal space, but never was able to complete the act.
Did she fight him off?
It was, I don't know if he was startled or she started to scream. I don't have those facts right here in front of me, or we don't want to go into too far those facts as we continue to try to vet information as it comes in to make sure we have credible sources.
Captain, what was the time span on this? Do you date back to how far?
We started back in July of 2015, leading up to May of 2017.
Was there a common denominator in terms of all of your victims, in terms of an age or a particular neighborhood, or what was? No, at that time we did not have anything specific until the information started coming back from the Georgia Bureau of Investigations that showed that the trace evidence that was located is how it all linked in together. We spanned an area from the Jonesboro area over towards the Riverdale area.
So, Captain, you don't have a name to go with the DNA that you have. What does that indicate? That this person's never been arrested for a felony before? Or?
It can't say that the person's never been arrested. The person's DNA has not been typed in, and there's different ways that could happen. If someone is sentenced and they go into the Department of Corrections, then they type their DNA when it goes in. So we may have a person that has been arrested before, but there has not been a typing of their DNA based off of what their sentencing may have been, or did they serve their sentence at a local facility and not get transferred into the Department of Corrections? It just depends on what that sentencing was. That could vary in many different ways.
And you may know this, I don't know this off the top of my head, but maybe you are aware. Did Georgia law change to where everybody's DNA goes into the system at some point? Was that fairly just before all this was going on, so that if he'd been convicted and sent to prison, his DNA would have been in prison?
To my understanding, yes, if you go into the Department of Corrections, that would take place. I do not have the dates of when they started using that in their policy. I'm sorry.
Would the most most recent one being in May of 2017, that's over a year ago. Why just now put this out there? Maybe you can explain to the public of what took so long to kind of piece everything together.
Well, the information didn't come in because these were widespread events over a length of time. It wasn't that we were working on a situation where we had an offense every month or every week. The offenses were spread out, and they were spread out over a geographical area.
What were some of the victims able to do to help you with a description of this suspect, and what are the sketches showing?
They were able to come in and give us, sit down with the artist and go over and do a forensic drawing of the person, which has been supplied to you guys also.
And so those were two different victims with those two sketches?
Yes.
But they look, obviously
Yes,
the
that's
same.
correct. That they have similarities in them.
What do you know about the age range, and just height? Can you just give us those details about?
I do not have those available for you in reference.
Any description of the suspect?
Yes, we have African male, and I'm just looking for my notes that would.
And I'm sorry, just to clarify, you said African as in a native of the African continent, like there was an accent, or African American as in?
African American.
Okay.
That's what, based off the composite drawings that were done by the victims, that's what we have at this time.
And so it said in the press release too, so all except for one was either an apartment complex or a townhome. There was only one single family home.
That's correct.
Attacked, right? Any similarities between the women? I mean, was there an age range he, liked to target, or?
I don't have that information available at this time.
Okay.
Captain, is it possible that more evidence will be coming in that might tie this person to additional cases, or where are you now with your investigation with perhaps some unsolved sexual assaults that you're looking at?
Well, those crime scenes have been processed, and the evidence that was located through the sexual assault kits that the centers do, they send those to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and so they process that information and it comes back to us, and it takes whatever their timeline is that they're running or they currently have at the lab.
At any given time, how many outstanding cases would you have that are unsolved? And could some portion of them also be linked to this person if in fact, you'll be checking that DNA for that?
Yes, we will be checking that to see if there's a linkage in our open cases that we have, but I do not have a specific number or a range to tell you at this time that would be able to support or.
The most recent one in this group is from May of 2017.
That's correct.
You think maybe that any other counties? You think he may have struck in any other counties or states or anything?
There's a possibility, but it's just a matter of that DNA evidence being able to be linked or typed in for everything to come together. So we're talking about unincorporated Clayton County, so we do not know if this offender moves from jurisdiction, because crimes do not know are isolated to a boundary. They travel.
And can you speak to just how this is kind of uncommon for, or is it for a serial rapist to have so many different MOs and, different methods of getting into these apartments? I don't know if you can speak to that just from your perspective and your experience. Is this uncommon, the way this guy has gone about this and spread it out?
It is quite odd that we've experienced this particular situation where he's going around and picking his victims randomly and uses different ways of different types of weapons or different types of force to commit the assault. So that's why we're asking the public to please be aware of your surroundings when you're parking your car or you're walking to your house. Are you locking your doors? Are you making sure your windows are locked or shut? But please be aware of your surroundings.
Have you had a chance to speak with the victims and let them know about this development with the DNA evidence, and what was their reaction as they look for some resolution to their crimes?
Well, my detectives are working on that case, and as you know, the victims are very confidential, but so I do not have any specific information about what their personal reactions were to new information coming in.
And my last question, and I've got to go to my live shot. So did it take the GBI, because of backlogs, this long to, over a year, I guess, to come with this information that links everything?
I can't speak on behalf of the Georgia Bureau of Investigations in reference to what their backlog is. I'm not sure. Maybe they could better answer that question for you, but as soon as we have our evidence that we get, then that is sent to their lab to process in the most efficient manner as possible.
How alarming is this for the women in this area because the suspect is still on the streets?
It should be alarming, but that's why we want everyone in this area to be aware of their surroundings as they go in and out of their place of residence or their community, to make sure that their doors are locked, their windows are locked, and that they're protected to the best of their ability.
Kevin, I'm sorry.
What can you say to the women, though, who see this story and it's concerning? What reassurance do you have for them?
That we're currently working the leads that we have in this case. These are unfortunate incidents that happen to the women in this area, and as soon as we can find the person that's responsible for this, we can take and hold them accountable before the court.
Kevin, I just have one last question, just in simple terms. Somebody who sees these sketches and thinks they recognize, or they know somebody who's been talking about this, and how important is it for you just to say what you know, tell police who this guy is, if you think you recognize, how dangerous can this man potentially be if he's connected to these crimes already?
It'd be very dangerous, and a sexual assault on a female is very damaging to that person and what they experience of it. So any information that anyone has, that they would contact the Clayton County Police Department so that we can follow any lead possible so we can take this person off the streets.
Captain, how important a break is this, to have this kind of a connection that you can now work with to find this person?
This is a great piece of evidence and scientific evidence that can be used for us to connect all these cases and hopefully take them off the street and have a successful prosecution within the courts.
In your experience, what do you make of this, to have one person who, through this evidence, appears to be responsible for this many cases like this?
Yeah, this is highly unlikely, especially for this area, that we see something of this type of trend. So this is, in my experience, this person needs to be located as soon as possible so that we can take them off the streets.
Did the suspect say anything to each of the women that stands out?
I don't have any of those details for you out of that case file, and I don't know. We want to release specific statements that he may have made at this point as the investigation is ongoing.
Any markings?
No,
Tattoos, anything?
we're not going to go into any of those at this point while it's an active investigation.
But I'm just saying, so we can help if people do, see the sketch.
Right, we would refer to the sketch, and then as the investigation continues, hopefully be able to link certain things that the person said. But we don't want to put out too much information so that investigators can do their part of follow-up so they can tie it in.